I'm happy to side with you there, Ollie. Sounds good to me. The Warriors 26, Cowboys 12. It was a 5:30 game on Saturday, and still kicking myself because, as I said on a previous show, we would have tipped the Warriors anywhere but Townsville, but
didn't matter.
Didn't matter, did it? What did the stats say?
2 tries to 5, 2 out of 2 conversions for the Cowboys, 3 out of 5 for the Warriors. 31 out of 41 sets played, 36 out of 45. 420 plus running metres for the Warriors. 1 line break for the Cowboys, 7 for the Warriors. 32 tackle buster, 33. 13 offloads to 9. No forced dropouts, no 40-20s. 382 tackles played, 333. 3 ruck infringements against the Cowboys, 1 inside the 10 against the Warriors. 4 penalties conceded to 7, 12 errors to 10. Robson made 51 tackles, Egan with 42. Tuolagi with 190 running metres, Montoya with 246. Supercoach points, Montoya with 118, Tamari Martin with 91, and Robson with 85. Another 20-minute hot start for the Cowboys. They were well on top for the first 20 minutes, and they looked decent. Then apart from about 2 or 3 shots after that 20-minute period in attack, their attack absolutely fell apart.
Yeah.
They had absolutely nothing in attack for the last hour of this game. They weren't thinking properly, and the Warriors just put their head down and worked through the middle of the field. Player after player, Fanua Blake, followed by Tohu Harris, followed by Mitch Barnett, and they just ran inroads straight through the middle of the Cowboys' defence. And that's why Robson got worked over so hard as he did, and there wasn't a lot of blokes that were helping him out, to be honest. It worked, and they worked, and their halves seemed to be striking up a good combination. Sean Johnson and T. Mary Martin are really starting to work together.
The last 2 weeks, Sean Johnson has looked like I won't say the old
first-grade
halfback, but like a first-grade
very
halfback.
competent first-grade halfback. And T. Mary Martin actually chimed in with him really well in this game, and it noticeably made a difference. They both caused problems on either side of the ruck, running game, passing. Not so much the kicking game, because T. Mary Martin doesn't really have much of a kicking game, but their running game and their passing game was fantastic. The Cows forwards noticeably tired. Their middle guys got worked over and they died in the middle of the field, and their bench rotation didn't offer much at all once they came on. Tanua Brown was okay, but he's probably the only bloke off the bench that you'd mention. And
not a single forward cracked 100 metres apart from Tomalolo, 109.
Yeah, Nanai offers a strike and attack, but he doesn't work. His defence is horrible, and he doesn't take any tough runs. He just sort of crashes over the line, jumps for the ball to score points, but he's just not doing the work that he needs to be doing for a bloke that's out there. And you look at the Kulamatangis and the blokes we've already mentioned in previous games, Ola Kawatu, who continue to work, and the defence is okay. Some of it's good, but he doesn't offer much apart from that
no James
try
Tarmo
every now and then.
This game either.
No, there wasn't. And I think it probably hurt him, realistically.
Well, this is the thing. Is it as simple as... let's just spend 5 minutes. I don't know how much we can really...
Jordan McLean was the best of their forwards.
Well, is it as simple as taking Tom Gilbert out of this pack has made that much of a difference, or is there more to it?
It's made a big difference.
And one jigsaw piece can count that much? Perhaps it can. I don't know.
It definitely would make a big
or
difference.
Have they set out to try and taper, and now they're going to end up try and build?
Yeah, well, they're definitely nowhere near as fit as they were this time last year.
So they're setting out to do it that way, and now they're going to chase their tail because they're going to they've dropped 3 games they thought they would have won.
And the worst part is that they've been pushing their attack when they get behind, and their attack's just been falling apart. It's not like they've been able to score length of the field tries or flashy looking tries. Once the ball gets out past the halves, nothing happens. Unless Val Holmes beats somebody and makes half a break, and then there's still nobody following him anyway because no one's quick enough to keep up with him.
Yeah.
So it's very, very concerning, to be honest. I thought McLean, was definitely the best of their forwards. The halves tried hard. Chad and Did and both tried hard, but they're a step behind where they were this time last year.
Yeah.
So, and whether they get that back's to be found out. Val and Tuolangi were the best of their outside backs, and Robson was brilliant for him. And he is week after week. But, The young fella at fullback for the Warriors, I thought he had a great debut.
Yeah, no.
Was it
Tuapiki?
Yeah, Tuapiki. I thought he was fantastic. He was involved at the right times. He didn't overplay his hand and got in. And he's very upright runner, but he has he's got the swerve and a bit of pace, and it looks like he's a prospect for the future. So we'll see what happens with him. Kossi was okay. Walker and Tavanga were great off the bench. Their impact off the bench was probably the difference in this game. The way they come in. Walker sort of unlocked the left-hand edge with T-Marie Martin.
Put on size, or whether it's, I don't know, but he looked scary at times, Walker.
Tavanga just added that extra punch through the middle of the field that they didn't really need, but it just had that extra bit of punch and just really break it open through the middle of the field. Egan and Harris were very good. I thought the halves were fantastic, but Fanua, Blake and Montoya just had a massive impact on this game.
Yeah.
Every time they touched the ball, the defence for the Cowboys were packing bricks.
Ollie.
Well, the back five for both of these sides were pretty good. Every single one of the Warriors' back five ran for at least 100 metres. Every single one of the Cowboys' back five ran for at least 120. Where was the big difference? It was the Warriors' forward pack laying that platform. And last year we would talk about how in certain games, this forward had a really good performance, but the next week it'd be that forward or the other forward, and it just never seemed to sort of click all together at once. It's almost as if Andrew Webster went to the pack in the preseason and said, what if we tried everyone?
How about we all try together?
Don't think it's really nice that you're sharing it around and taking turns, but what if you all did it at once? And,
we're not going to have one bloke run up the hill at once and then everybody watch him. We're all running up the hill together.
And that was indicative because in the Warriors starting pack, 3 of their forwards had over 140 running metres for the game, and I think that's where the difference overall comes in. Adam Fanua Blake 144 before he went off, Mitch Barnett 140 and Tohu Harris 142. And I would say what I saw, Tohu Harris probably the best player on the field because he backed that up with 41 tackles. Wade Egan was great as well, 42 tackles, and his first try as well. I thought he did a really good job to sort of maintain momentum when he scored, because there was sort of a fine line there where he could have called double movement, but he was quick to sort of get himself up, roll over and score that try. I thought about it for a second there, but then upon watching a replay, I thought, no, it was there. So a good job for him to sort of use that strength to push himself up, keep his momentum going. Reece Robson as well, he is getting closer and closer to that New South Wales jersey. I thought Cook's probably been playing a bit better at the start of this season as well.
One hooker that's probably not going to end up there.
The old Tiger Trap, But Robson might be the one coming off of the bench for Damien Cook. Who knows? Obviously, Origin's still a few months away. I thought Montoya was good as well with his 2 tries, nearly 250 running metres as well. So he was getting in there as much as he could. And you bring up the halves, right? So the efforts from Sean Johnson and T-Marie Martin, and talking about their passing play, there were 2 tries, one each, where it was actually their passing and sort of when they pass is sort of what set up the tries. The first one, Sean Johnson, towards the 50-minute mark for that Kossi try, it was just him sort of not even dummying, but sort of shaping to pass to multiple players, keeping the Cowboys defense guessing until I think he got it to... I think it was that the fullback who ended up getting the assist there for Kossi. But then it was Montoya's second try towards the 60th minute, where it was a great hold-up by T-Marie Martin. I thought he just held the ball up perfectly, probably better than the Ilias one I spoke about earlier, just holding the ball up enough to create that gap, getting it on for Montoya to crash over in the corner and score. So I thought for the halves that we don't really usually sort of zero in and focus on the passing specifically for halves, but I think in terms of those 2 plays, it was sort of indicative of the rest of the game that both Martin and Sean Johnson had.
Yeah, I don't have a lot more to add to either you blokes. I think the Cowboys are just now looking a little bit tradesman-like, and
absolutely
they are, I got concerns for them. I don't know where they come back from here. They go through the motions a little bit, and that's what they are. And I think I'm just going to, a bit like Melbourne, you're going to start, as I said like this time last year, the form becomes a form. And you've got to now say, well, now they are there. You look back 2 years ago, they started favourites for the spoon. They've now dropped the trials. They have struggled they've won one game by 1 point. Admittedly, Canberra's come out and beaten someone else you're going to said was going to make the grand final, but we'll get to that. So I am treating them now until I see otherwise. I think you just treat them as who they are.
Cronulla beat Cronulla. Canberra didn't beat Cronulla.
But
we'll
I
get
agree
to
with
that.
that one as well. So I don't know whether it's tapering. I don't know whether they've tried to start softer to go longer. I don't know whether it's just
I think there's a little bit about that, but
squeezed.
There's just nobody doing that grubby work in the middle of the field apart from Robson. He's got no help in there. Cotter's still trying, but I think he got a few less minutes in this one, and he's, you can't just have two blokes doing that scrap and scramble in the middle of the field. You need 4 out of your 5 forwards doing that work together, and they're not doing it.
Yeah.
So and they're getting carved up in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is for the I was just going to say the good thing is for the Cowboys, they're about to verse a team who recently got an upset win, who we might all tip to beat the Cowboys, which is the perfect storm for the Cowboys to then win by about 20. So good for them.
Find out tomorrow.
It needs to be. It actually needs to be. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to.
Tomorrow.
They need to hit back, and they need to hit back.
I've got to give a big rap to Webbs. He came there. He saw what they had. He saw what they were capable of, and he said,
"They've been a rabble for years,
yeah,
and they are one of the most organised, and ruthless. Like they just keep going."
I was listening to and then they interviewed Tamari Martin after the game, and all he talked about was how important processes are, and because if their processes work, it means Sean Johnson gets to be Sean Johnson, and it means they score points, and the proof's in the pudding.
As I said, they've been a rabble for, I said 2 or 3, but you could take that out to 5 or 10 years, realistically. Like they have had very little organisational skills in their attack. Their attack is basically just throw it and hope for the best, and we'll try and belt some blokes, but we're not going to tackle for 80 minutes. We're going to tackle for 30, 40 minutes and try and hurt people.
Yeah.
And they put their nose to the grindstone. They've brought in some players that do
signings,
that.
Near Corey and Barnett are astute signings and fit that model.
They're playing 80 minutes, and they're playing quite well, and they're going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of teams.
Sounds like you're going to give Tohu 12 or 3?
No, I'm giving Taro Martin 3.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
And I didn't even have Tohu. I had Tohu for 1, but the stats here just.
No, that's fine. Tamari
Martin, right? So he had 2 try assists. He only had 7 runs, but he had a tackle bust, a line break, 3 line break assists, offload, 25 tackles for a half, and 1 miss.
Yep.
And he was instrumental in a lot of the points that came from this team. And then you had Montoya, 246 running metres from a winger, 2 tries, 6 tackle busts, 3 line breaks, 2 offloads. That was my 3 and 2.
Yep.
And then I had Harris or Tavanga or Robson for the 1. But
to think you're the one who advocates for forwards getting Dally M points, and now you're here overlooking an underrated forward,
filthy half and a winger
by others for a goddamn half.
Best game Tamari Martin's played since probably his first year when he was at the Broncos and carved someone up was probably the Warriors.
Yeah. Fair.
It's the best game Tohu Harris has played since last week because he's always good.
Exactly. Same as Teddy gets 0 because he's just Teddy.
All right, Montoya can have 1, and we'll give Tohu 2. How's
that? We'll get to.
I can't have Tohu taking 3 off Tamari Martin.
That's fine. I'm fine with Barn if you are.
And I'm also happy with Montoya getting the 1 there as well.
All right. The next game, we're now Whitney Houston free in the background, which is amazing. As we get to the Broncos 40, the Dragons, what did they get, 18 or something?
18, yep.
Stats?
7 tries to 3, 5 out of 7 conversions, played 2 out of 3. 1 out of 1 2-point field goal attempts for the Broncos and 1 out of 2 penalty attempts for the Dragons. 33 out of 40 sets, played 25 out of 31. 512 plus running metres and 124 plus post-contact metres for the Broncos. 7 line breaks to 4. I reckon half of those were Payne Hasses. But anyway, 36 tackle busts to 18. 13 offloads to 4. 4 forced dropout by the Broncos, 1 by the Dragons. 0 40-20s, 287 tackles played, 328. 4 ruck infringements against Brisbane, 2 against St George. Illawarra. 0 inside the 10s to 1. 5 penalties conceded to 7. 9 errors to 7. Ricky with 32 tackles. Bird with 42. Payne Haas with 240 running metres and Francis Molo with 176. Reynolds with 100 Supercoach points. Walsh with 99. Then 3 other Broncos before you got down to Jaden Sewer on 66 for the Dragons.
This photo like a game where, well, first of all, the field was fucked.
Yeah,
The field shut down. In the first half, it seemed like every time the Broncos made half a break, someone would fall over.
What about every time Reece Walsh tried to step, he just fell on his face?
It felt like the whole first half was shut down by the surface.
Yeah.
And when they finally got to attack at the other end, we saw it happen. But
Walsh just stopped stepping
it
and
felt
just
a lot
started
like
straight.
Brisbane, and maybe it probably was to do with the surface, but it felt like Brisbane came out to play this first half like,
Expansive.
let's just get through this game without getting hurt. And we'll win. Don't worry, because there wasn't the line speed from last week. There wasn't really but whether it was a surface maybe. And in second half, they came out, and even then it's still a bit lackluster for probably a good another half hour. Then all of a sudden, Payne Haas came back on the field after sitting on the bench for 20 minutes.
I think he might have been upset. He's
Well,
like, why am I sitting on the fucking bench?
He said, I'm tipping he walked back out. He looked at Pat and said, right, dickhead, come with me. Next minute, bang, 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 and they've put on 30 points.
You know what he did? He looked at fucking Moses Sully and went, I'm going to make you my bitch for the next 10 minutes, and just ran at the bloke time and time again, and we just ran past him.
And then, but even when he got tackled, Carrigan had the next out. When he didn't, he was offloading the Carrigan. And the moment of beauty was just the 1-2, and then there's Walsh popping up outside the Carrigan offload, and off he went. That was just like, mwah. I loved it. I loved the last 10 minutes, especially because Reece Walsh was on -1 point at halftime in Supercoach, finishing the game at 90.
99,
Just that was absolute A-grade stuff.
The Dragons were well on top early.
Yeah,
like they were belting
Molo
the
had
forward
almost
pack.
game of his life.
Yeah, Francis Molo.
Tremendous.
And Jaden Sewer just were ripping through the middle of this Broncos pack, which you don't see very often at all. But they were well and truly dominant through the middle of the field against this Broncos team early. And then that let Bird and Sullivan play a bit of footy, and there's a bit of footy in both of those guys. Jack Bird's well exposed, but Sullivan's not so much, and they play a similar sort of football. They both sort of run first mentality, good short ball, can play at the line or through the line, and a little bit of a grubber as well. But there's something there that they can work on. But, and Sloan backing up. He looks dangerous.
Turn of acceleration.
Dangerous at
and
the
off
moment.
off a dime. Like, he can go bang.
Like we mentioned it last year, and he didn't get time, and we said he needed to be played and all the rest of it. But he is explosive, especially with that acceleration.
What the Dragons have done, we all tipped them for, you didn't, you tipped the Warriors, you dumb shit. But we tipped the Dragons for the spoon. And they went out, same as the Titans, and addressed their issues. They went and got
Ben Murdoch-Masila
for some size, and the other guy.
Josh Kerr was big in this game too.
Kerr,
he was really good in the middle of the field.
And they've backed some fast outside backs.
But yeah, Sloan looked explosive, and the Dragons were in control for most of that first half.
Yeah.
It really came down to that 2-point field goal right on half-time. And the Broncos came out after half-time, looked like a different team. Like, they were really G'd up, and they were back in for the contest. And they took over the middle of the field, and then they started stretching the Dragons on both sides of the field. And when you can do that, that's the key to breaking down this Dragons team. You need to meet them in the middle of the field and then start pressuring their outside backs, because there's defensive mistakes in Sully, Ravalawa, Lomax. Yeah, name them all. There's defensive issues out there, but you do have to win the middle first. And I think the Broncos decided at the start of the game they were going to try and just go straight to the edges, and it didn't work. And the Dragons sort of kicked that front door down.
There was it was just like, we'll throw the ball wide, it'll be sweet. Don't worry, Katoni will do something.
And it came back to Reynolds' kicking game as well. It was instrumental in getting them back into this game.
I don't know when we get to he has been almost Brisbane's best player this year. He's been so good.
Well, that first half.
I feel like he's almost getting up tethered here, where he might not get 3, and he probably won't.
No,
but
he doesn't.
But he's been the form halfback of this competition. He's been outstanding.
But in that,
he's a good player.
First half an hour when they were getting dominated in the middle of the field, the only reason they got down the other end of the field was off Reynolds' boot.
Yeah.
And it was him kicking it back down into the corners and turning them around and making sure that they could get back down into decent field position, and then at least work and try to get back into the game. And they struggled for that first 40 minutes, but that second half was just a procession. Like they took over, took control of the middle of the field, and once that happened, Walsh just got on the back of the shape on the outside. Ezra had a little bit of a quiet game, but he still popped up here and there. Walsh is just a constant threat at the moment. If that bloke stays fit, he is going to pop up in just about every game and just cause problems for everybody.
I was about to say the same thing. If this Brisbane team stays fit, they are scary. Because if Haas stays fit, if Carrigan stays fit, I mean, Carrigan that was an unfortunate last year. Reynolds obviously is the big one. If he stays fit and if Walsh stays fit, that is scary, scary stuff. Katoni and Herbie stay fit.
The Dragons probably did pretty well to hang on as long as they did, to be honest. Yeah. I know it blew out really badly late in this game with Payne Haas just being an absolute wreck. I think he touched the ball 3 times in the first couple of minutes he came on.
Yeah.
Made 2 line breaks, 4 or 5 tackle passes, an offload, set up a try. He just absolutely tore this game apart when he came back on for that last 10 minutes. And, the quick guys jumped on the back of it. Reece Walsh popped up. The Cobbo and the wingers sort of got involved and just kept chasing that ball once it got through the line. Yeah. But it was all Payne Haas that blew this game apart.
Ollie, any dad?
Yeah, well, first I'm gonna highlight 3 Dragons players actually, and then 3 Broncos players. So there were 3 Dragons players who made at least 30 tackles in this game. We had Blake Laurie, consistent performer, 34 tackles. Jaden Sewer, who you brought up, who I thought was great in attack as well. That try for was it Sloan who scored? That sort of hit off, turn around and pass. That was beautiful to assist his try. But he made 35 tackles and Jack Bird 42 tackles. Now, respectable against most teams. You thought, you know what? They've done the work. They're keeping their team in and around this game. It's going to be a close one.
Sorry, I didn't mention Laurie early in that when the Dragons were on the front foot. I mentioned Sewer and Molo. They were backup players to Laurie. It was Laurie who took that middle of the field, running the ball through the middle of the field. He was probably the best of them. But
yeah,
sorry, Ellie.
You had those 3 blokes who sort of set a foundation for a close game to put in the work, and it looked like that way for a while. But Thomas Flagler, Payne Haas, and Patrick Carrigan, unfortunately, were fully fit that day and decided to take the field because we had Carrigan, 180 running metres. You guys have spoken about Carrigan and Haas as well. Haas with 240. Flagler, 196 running metres. He was up there with those blokes as well, absolutely running through this and destroying the Dragons' defence. And late in the game is where I think it was really clear what Haas was doing because it started leading to tries. This was in that final 10-minute sort of whitewash for the Broncos. We at the 74.5-minute mark, Payne Haas breaks through the line and offload to Carrigan, who then gets it to Reece Walsh, who off the back of that scores. And then we got 2 minutes later, Payne Haas, the exact same play, through the line, breaks through, gets that offload to Kurt Capewell, who goes through and then gets it to Cobbo to score a try there as well. Both plays set up by Payne Haas. And just that first one as well that I mentioned to Reece Walsh, and why Reece Walsh has been playing so good these past couple of weeks is because, and we go back to that Warriors game, what was the issue with the Warriors last year? They had a good forward pack who were putting in the effort, but it seemed that only one of them was doing it a week. So he didn't actually have a pack in front of him to do a lot of the work, to tie down to the defence and get good chances for him to play off the back of. And I don't think, at least in attack, Reece Walsh was horrible for the Warriors last year. He was close to
the best
attacking option.
Yeah.
So now that he's in a side where he's actually got a forward pack in front of him, not only doing work, but putting up those numbers and putting in the best work in the competition consistently off the back of that, this must feel like a breeze. This must feel like playing rugby league.
I think coming home helps, and also I assume, and I don't know,
but that's when he's at his best as well. Like he's really good on the back shape when he's running the outline and the circle around the back. But his best is when he can go straight through the line on the back of on an offload or a short pass, because his acceleration, you're not going to get anywhere near him. No. If he's halfway through the gap, he's gone.
But I assume he probably came through the system with Ezra. With some of these guys, and being home, it's a bit of the Penrith thing. Like once you get your buddies back around you, it's better than being,
well, the Broncos didn't want to let go of him, but he just wanted too much money.
Yeah,
and just at the end of the day, you got to,
And fair play to him, he got what he wanted and came back. So cool. I assume he's happier. It's just outstanding. Just one of my probably bordering on one of my favourite players to watch right now, Reece Walsh. Well, this whole Brisbane team is at their best. They did labour for a lot of this.
So we're going to see you with a whole heap of new jerseys next year, or what?
Don't tempt me with a good time. They don't want this.
They don't want
Brisbane
this.
fans, send me money not to do this.
20 years
Yeah,
of
they do not want it.
tagging on your back.
So I went Mac. Sorry, I'll go.
I was going to say, you're going to get the half Bronco, half Dolphin jersey, the split down the middle one. I reckon.
The
Oh,
Tigers.
I should get the Broncos City jersey. Have you seen that purple atrocity with the whatever is the vanilla Coke version?
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got Brisbane are a good team, eh? Let's move on.
They are a very good team.
Payne Haas is the best forward in the game, eh?
Pretty close to it. To'o'd be pushing him. Yeah,
Oh, you
three
don't
for
give
Payne.
Toy any points, eh?
No, he got one, didn't he?
You probably did. 3 to Payne.
He got 3 last week.
2 Reynolds.
We gave him 2.
1 to Walsh.
Yes, correct.
Ding, ding, ding.
Sure.
Ding, ding, ding.
We're
Here we
headed to
go.
Belmore. 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon. 26-22, the Bulldogs defeated the Tigers in stifling heat.
4 tries apiece, 4 out of 4 conversions to the Dogs, 3 out of 4 for the Tigers, and 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for the Bulldogs. 32 out of 42 sets, played 28 out of 40. 5 line breaks to 4, 32 tackle busts to 31, 10 offloads to 11. 2 forced dropouts by the Bulldogs. 319 tackles, played 336. 1 ruck infringement to 2, 7 penalties conceded from both teams, 12 errors for the Bulldogs, 14 by the Tigers. Mahoney made 39 tackles, Appy with 44, Kiraz with 283 running metres and Staines with 190. Naden with 96 Supercoach points, Alamotti with 78, and Burton with 76.
Do you want to go first, Flog?
Sure, unless you want to talk about the Tigers. I know how much you love talking about them at the moment.
Someone should talk about the Bulldogs first. So go and tell us.
Okay.
Give us a play-by-play.
I'll go through. Well, the first try, the beautiful Burton cutout pass.
Okay,
to
don't
kick
talk about
out
it.
at
Kick out.
5. Okay, don't worry. You know what? Let's just someone I want to highlight first. The talk of the town, Luke Brooks, in the second half. He was all right. He was all right in that second half, Luke Brooks.
What did that coincide with, Ollie?
As we've said, well, him running the ball for one.
Yeah, and also an actual half being on the field.
Brandon Waken coming onto the field.
Anyway, yeah, keep going.
Yeah, well, it's sort of the same impact Hastings had on him for a bit last year, but Brooks ended up with the try, the assist, 168 running metres, and he also made 18 tackles, I've put there. Luke Brooks, solid all round. I mean,
I reckon 60 out of those metres might have been across the field rather than forward. But anyway.
68 of them probably came from the 2 breaks that he made to set someone up to score as well. So fair enough to him. The big player, I guess everyone's talking about, is Jacob Kiraz, 283 running metres. But
he's stoned on the scene.
Yeah, he's been fantastic, and he's leading the Dally M points tally because he's got 11 points for the year somehow, because that's how it works now. I still don't know how.
The last winger to lead the Dally M.
He's been drinking. Jesus.
Yeah, well,
he's been good, but fuck.
Apparently, Jared didn't get a single point the other day. Anyway,
right.
The last winger to lead the Dally M procession, David Nofaluma. How's the irony for that? Anyway,
beautiful. Really, it's poetic, I guess you could say. Another player who was great for the Bulldogs, though, Paul Alamotti as well. Of course, we were talking about him a fair bit heading into the season. Close to his best game. He got a couple of assists, near 200 running metres, and he also made 10 tackles as well out on the edge there. Jacob Preston, another good showing from him is it his second game?
Starting game.
Second starting game, yeah.
Second starting game. He backed up last week's performance as well with huge defensive effort too, 36 tackles. Reed as well was an absolute lock in. Well, he's a hooker, but he was a lock in defence at least. 39 tackles there. But another standout player for the West Tigers, Brent Naden. And I think he's been solid so far this year. He's got a try, 188 running metres, and he himself made 16 tackles too. Now, as a Tigers fan, you've got to at least be happy with at least the defensive output from a couple of your edge players here in this game. Mainly Naden, but as well, I should say from a couple of your backs in this game, because Naden and Brooks, you don't usually see those numbers from many teams, right? Like 16 tackles and 18 tackles from 16 from Naden and 18 from Brooks.
Didn't Keary just make
40? What you see, right? Who made 40s?
Keary.
Stefano. Theory.
You were saying for the halves,
Yeah, well,
didn't?
that's
Anyway, carry on.
yeah, he did. I know what you but yeah, that's another sort of a standout effort as well, I think. But Stefano made 40. Appy ran the ball a fair bit here, 125 running.
Unfortunately, no one ran with him when he ran. That seems a major problem.
Yeah, and Dewey got 120 odd running meters as well. So look, there was some decent individual efforts from the Tigers players here, especially in the last 20 odd minutes of the game. But in the end, it wasn't enough to combat what the Bulldogs did. John Bateman as well, on his return to the NRL, of course, scored a try with his face, but also made over 30 tackles in the game as well. So that's sort of the output you want from him as well. I still don't think he's back to his best. Over in England, he was actually quite injury prone, which I don't think enough people are talking about. He was out at different stages. There was the rumor at the start of the year that he had the
all they've talked about for 4 weeks.
Well, not him being injured over in England, him being injured now. The Tigers, for whatever reason, haven't admitted it or confirmed it, but there was the rumor that he had an injured ankle, that he actually was out for about a month last year in the UK. I checked that out. So that could be an issue for him. So I don't think he's back to his best because of that, but it was a fine first effort back as well, I think. I thought Burton was fine in this game. We've sort of spoken about him, whether or not
Burton was good. Actually,
he was good. That first try for kick-out, and then Marnie sort of opened him up for the try that he scored, I will admit, from that little dart from dummy half, then back on the inside to Burton where that gap opened up. But I thought he was fine. It was very odd, though, and just that effort from the Tigers towards the end to sort of come back, but it got to the 70-minute mark, and then it just came to nothing. I thought they would sort of kick on with the last 10 minutes and maybe at least get in front, and then the Bulldogs would have to sort of step back up. But
they never, the game shut down. The Bulldogs just completely shut the game down and laid around and fucked around for the last 10 minutes. Which is their right to do, whatever. It just ended.
The Dogs started fast. They broke open the Tigers' defence pretty much every second set there for the first, half an hour, 40 minutes. Dominated the first half. They probably would have been a bit disappointed not to be further in front at half-time, to be honest, because there was a couple of opportunities that they bombed and they probably should have really kicked away.
Finish your spiel.
They scored again 15 minutes into the second half, and they looked like the Tigers were set up for another absolute flogging. But 3 tries in the space of 5 minutes, which, as you said, coincided with Wakeham straightening up the attack and actually running at the line, which not many people were doing, and creating opportunities for his outside men, inside-outside passes, and then 3 tries in 5 minutes. Captain Daggy was up. He was hooping and hollering, and he got quite excited there for the space of about 10 minutes.
I was hooping. I might have been hollering.
Oh, there was a little bit.
Hooping.
There was a little bit.
Maybe a yee-haw, but no hooping.
That was followed by his cries of, "I knew they'd fucking drop it.
Yeah.
I knew they would fuck up. They've been disappointing me for a decade, the cunts, and they're doing it again. It's gonna happen. Watch it happen."
And there it was.
And there it was.
If anyone would like to come to the Grey Gums and watch a Tigers game with me, it's probably worthwhile viewing.
Multiple expletives.
I'll put a little mic on my name to do it.
Absolutely.
We'll do that.
Multiple expletives. Followed by a Go Tigers, which lasted about 30 seconds, followed by more expletives. It was an interesting afternoon.
You should go and watch the Tigers game at the Grey Gums with Daggy when they're versing your team as well. It just makes the victory so much more sweeter.
I will. Actually, you know what? What are we, 6 o'clock this Friday? I will wear the GoPro, the little Go mic. I'll make myself up here. And I'll edit it. I'll be quite generous in what
Wakeham was the catalyst for the Tigers blowing the game open in that 10-minute period. Polo, I thought, was good, and 12.
Fantastic, yeah.
Both had really good games. Stefano and Appy were really strong in the middle of the field, which is probably the reason that the game kept as close as it was in those points where the Dogs were dominant. Brooks was decent at times. Naden was really strong. Reid and Kickow were good for the Dogs. Alan Motti had his breakout game for his career. That's the best game he's ever played, and hopefully he just continues on forward. Karaz, Perham were good. Adokar and Preston were 2 of the better players for the Dogs, I thought. But, that's...
The breakout games all came around Kickow.
Yes, correct.
So, although everyone just mentioned was around Kiko being terrifying for the first half, he was outstanding.
And he started playing the sort of a bit of the yo roll as well. He's taking that first pass and drawing defenders and giving the ball
he's now worth
a bit of extra time to Burton and the outside men.
So I thought he was outstanding for the first half. It's a weird thing because I don't necessarily think if Bulldogs had won by 30, it probably was reflective of how bad Tigers were, but I don't think they were 30 points better. Does it make sense?
They were for half the game, but definitely not in the second half.
But Tigers just sucked more than Bulldogs being better. I saw a headline today, and no one's mentioned him yet. Headline day was that Bateman was an 800k flop in that game. He was the fucking only bloke on the field trying for the Tigers for a large. Sorry, him and Appy and Naden with only 3 blokes trying in that field. I thought it was fantastic. He punched above his weight. He walked onto a 40-degree day, and was tremendous. Like I think
created the angles that the Tigers don't generally do. That's straight through the middle, hit an edge, where he's cutting back on different angles and providing different opportunities.
But we saw it at Canberra. He used to try that grubber a lot. But that's fine.
He loves the cut back on the 45 degree
that's
back
a point
to the
of
post.
difference, and that was given he walked that field and looked like the smallest bloke out there.
Close to it.
How much the game's changed. But geez, he punches above his weight. He threw blokes around. He hurt Ree. He hurt Burton. He hurt a couple of blokes there throwing him around. And
he can call a bloke a flop off one game.
He can
seriously.
Well, that was Fox Sports again. But he
wasn't even bad.
And he was
nowhere near bad.
I thought he was outstanding. As much as he can be outstanding situation.
Yeah.
Just to finish up on the Bulldogs, so Kiraz is now like he's a out of the box freak now. That's tremendous. Alamone again. Didn't see. I don't recall seeing Flanagan in that game. So there's
not particularly.
There's that, and Burton support play was great. I love that Bulldogs fans now get on board when he puts a bomb up. The whole crowd goes, ooh.
The thing for me is, like, Flanagan's built his game around a kicking game.
Yeah.
You look at the kicking stats, it was Reid and Burton were the only ones that were kicking.
Reid did a lot of that and a tackle kicking, which is interesting, which I don't know if that suggests no confidence or whether...
They haven't had confidence. But there hasn't been a team yet that's had confidence in him.
No, that's
Sharks
true.
played him as a reserve grade. He had a couple of good games here and there.
He never did anything wrong. I don't think he did anything wrong.
He was okay in a good Roosters system, but he wasn't what they wanted, so they moved him on, and he's probably played 2 good games for the Dogs in the year and a bit that he's been there. So
I don't know, but they're chugging along fine. I just think I put it this way, talking about going back to the Tigers, watching them in attack, and then I watched the first half of the Sharks game next. It was weird to then watch 2 teams of structure actually play each other. And what is going on here? The short answer to this is the Tigers, 90% of that Tigers team are damaged goods. Appy makes breaks and no one supports him. Like, he make a 3-metre break, there's not a fucking player within QE. Why is no one charging through to support him? Why is...
The worst part is should be a forward on either side running to get the ball off him anyway.
And
so there should be 2 blokes somewhere near him.
The bloke who's got any brains that does it is Alex Twal. Because he came on 20 minutes in and started making metre over metre, just following Appy up the field. They are damaged goods. If I was the Tigers, I'd be looking at restart. You just say thanks but no thanks. Just restart and go, right, we've got Appy, we've got Clemmer, we've got Bateman, Ice comes back. To Power on the wing and Naden, and the rest you just damaged goods now.
Hasn't the plan been to restart for the past 5 years, though?
Yeah, I know, and they won't. I know, but it's like, fucking, anyway. Like, there was some glimpse there. They will start Wakeham this week. They will start Wakeham this week, and they will put Brooks to 6 and Dewey to fullback, and we'll see what that brings. What it brings,
second win of the season.
What's that?
It will bring Melbourne's second win of the season.
Probably will, but something has to change. But there's efforts there in terms of Tigers fan. I was very, very proud of what Naden achieved, and like I said, Bateman was good. Also, and Alex Tyler was good. The rest of them are all just complete trash. If Adam Dewey now was given 3 games as a dominant half, trying to get himself a $800,000 contract, hasn't done it. If he's not a fullback, then he's just a centre and needs to accept his lot in life. Because putting Waking in there gives Brooks the chance. Brooks' one job in life is just follow Appy, run around, follow Appy, get a half break, and then run fast, and hope that Naden is nearby.
It's there to pass it.
Because then they'll score lots of points. The rest of it is just awful. I feel like I haven't wrapped Bulldogs enough, but I struggle to think of too many guys outside of what we've mentioned that do add much more than what we've said. So the fact Tigers then came back and finished with 70% completion rate shows you how bad the first half was. So I don't know. Anything you want to add on this, Ollie? Well, he's been taken away.
No, he's gone. Well, it's sort of hard for me to really give a 3-2-1 because I guess it's sort of been the week for more team-like performance. I think Carraz is probably up there, right? Maybe even getting the 3, but like a couple of the players that I look at for standout performances came from the Tigers. Like I think Brent Naden's up and around there. I felt the same,
sure. And I feel like I'm not being fair in that regard. So what I might do is just pause and go and find him.
Points.
So Barnes back. What are you thinking for this game?
3-2-1. Oh, well, Carraz has to get the 3, I would imagine. I thought he was very, very impactful ball in hand on the outside edges for the Bulldogs.
He's New South Welshman, isn't he? Be a Dogs junior, I don't know.
Yeah, I do believe so. Alamotti with his breakout game. It was the root cause for 2 of the tries that they scored, both to Adokar, I believe. With the, he doesn't quite have that.
It was funny.
He needs a fraction more.
They should have boxed him up better in one of them, but it was funny that one when Naden chased Alamotti and then Fox just loomed and went, oh, okay.
That second one when he just went into 2 defenders and just reached around them and just went, there you go, Adokar, see you later. That was pretty poor. But yeah, Naden has to get a point, I think. I thought Naden
he's been outstanding for us all year. I think
seriously strong. He looks fitter than he has for a long time.
And stronger, wide, big shoulders, everything.
Running quick but that was my 3-2-1.
If wherever we end up, like he wouldn't be the worst shout at fullback at some point if they.
And Burton probably would have been close to the point in this one. I think he had a try assist, a line break, maybe 2 line break assists, and I thought he was quite good ball in hand, but.
24-20, the Raiders 9 straight. Van, the Raiders
can't beat
Sharks are their sons.
Manly used to be.
If only Canberra.
Last year. I think Manly was like 14 games or something stretched against Manly until we beat them last year.
But it was not their best performance, I would suggest.
It was pathetic, mate. Anyway, 4 tries apiece, 4 out of 4 conversions for the Raiders, 2 out of 4 for the Sharks. 32 out of 41 sets played, 34 out of 39. 230 plus running metres for the Sharks. 6 line breaks for the Raiders, 3 for Cronulla. 23 tackle busts for the Raiders, 31 for Cronulla. 8 offloads for both teams. 2 forced dropouts by the Raiders. 1 40-20 for the Sharks. 350, really good 40-20 too, actually. 357 tackles, played 356. 1 ruck infringement against the Raiders, 3 against the Sharks. 1 inside the 10 against the Raiders. 6 penalties conceded from both teams. 9 errors to the Raiders, 5 errors to the Sharks. And a sin bin to Cronulla. Good old Royce Hunt. Starling made 54 tackles. Brayley with 52. Hopewadi with 185 running metres and Wilton with 176. Starling with 95 Supercoach points. Horsburgh with 95 Supercoach points. Tomoko with 95 Supercoach points. And Nakora with 81. Another game from the Sharks where we score, you score, we stuff up, you don't, and we'll stuff up again. But it was back and forth without either team really taking control of the match. Sharks started well and statistically weren't that bad, but the stats hit a pretty underwhelming performance for me. There was 4 tries scored by Canberra, and all of them were within the 10-metre line. One was
2 crash plays.
2 crash plays. Tomoko holding off the perennial turnstile in Matty Moyland and crashing over, and Whiten just going down a short side from dummy half to crash over. And all the 3. Whiten one I can understand. Yeah, you get it wrong and he goes down the right side, scores a try. both the Horsburgh's tries should never have been scored against a decent defensive line on your own line, and the Tomoko one shouldn't have been scored either. Well, he just held off White and held off Moylan, and nobody was there to help him out. But he shouldn't need help with that close to the line realistically. But yeah,
where do I start?
Moylan can't tackle. It's been able to tackle for a long time.
I've wrapped the bloke last 2 weeks, but this was peak Matt Moylan, I suppose. This game.
You got to give it to Canberra. They scrapped and they fought really hard in this game because they probably didn't deserve to win. But the amount of fight that they put up in the middle of the field, even though Cronulla were rolling through the middle and did pick up more running meters, they fought back. They did the same thing, but they had a little bit more interchange of passing and a few more angles through the middle of the field, which has been a big part of what the Sharks are lacking at the moment. They're just playing one-out football through the middle of the field and expecting their outside backs to cash in, which they are doing, but they need to get back to that short passing, interchange, different inside-outside angles in the middle of the field, which they haven't done to start this year, which was a big part of why they were so successful last year, to be honest. With their back rowers changing angles and offloads and stuff in and behind the ruck, which they haven't done at all to start this year, which is taken away from where they could be. The Sharks, realistically, the majority of the Sharks' tries were well worked tries with good ball movement, good fast running.
There was one bloke at the key of all that,
Trindle and Nikora.
Yeah. But was it the key of all the tries was Trindle?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
there's a strong case he made that
he plays 7 and
Nico
goes to
plays
6. Yeah.
I don't know. They won't because no one ever does that sort of thing.
But realistically, they should.
How far do you go down the road before you do it, though? You'd probably need to lose 5 in a row.
If Moylan starts getting pushed off for a try or two every game, then you probably realistically have to look at it.
It's now screaming because, Trindle's got a sensational kicking game. He's got a great kicking game.
And you add that to...
he's a great goal kicker.
Nico Hines is quite a good in-play kicker as well.
But also Nico's got the sense of when he can go... We've seen it at Melbourne. He can be a sweeping 5'8". He can be a direct 5'8". He can do either or.
But you even look at the Canberra outside backs in these ones. A little bit of footwork, a little bit of pace... And then you've got Talakai, who's just running like a forward out in the centres. Get him back in the middle of the field. Bring in your Kyle Iros of the world, someone with a bit of footwork, bit of pace, and that can actually challenge the defence rather than just being that battering ram through the middle of the field. Even put Nikora out there and play in left centre and put Talakai on the right edge.
He needs to get close
Nikora's back to the...
we haven't seen it, but Nikora is one of the best hole runners in the game right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think they need another out-and-out centre, and Talakai needs to go back in the middle of the field or even play on an edge because he could – just that one player in makes that little bit of difference in defence and in attack rather than being that posted that one side out further.
Realistically, when you don't necessarily have a superstar prop, you could move Finucane into that spot. You got McGuinness, I suppose, going to play. I suppose you can't really play Nikora or Wilton. You could at 13, but you've got McGuinness there anyway, don't you? But tricky.
Finucane. But yeah, I think the
play him at fucking off the bench, Talakai.
The stats definitely covered up a pretty poor performance here from the Sharks. They let in some really soft tries, which was underwhelming as a Sharks fan. Directly after half-time, Sharks couldn't get out of their own way. I think they made 2 or 3 errors in a row, gave away 2 or 3 penalties, and they didn't touch the ball for 20 minutes in the second half of this game. And in that kind of oppressive heat, you add that all together, and they were never going to come away with a win in this one unless they snatched it at the very last minute of the game with some sort of, glory pass or kick or whatever it is that you might have got away with. Ramey and Mulatalo were decent. Talakai had some nice touches as well. Finucane and Wilton was strong, I thought, in the middle of the field. Trindle was really good again, and Rudolph was probably the best from the Sharks, and he only played 43 minutes in the middle of the field, and he was probably the guy who made the biggest impact in the middle of the field. Their bench was poor, apart from Oregon Kafusi, who I thought had a pretty good impact in the 30-odd minutes that he played. Probably could have played a little bit more. Chris was okay at the back of the field for the Raiders. I thought Tomoko and Hopewadi probably had the best game I think I've seen him play in first grade. I thought he was really strong in this one for the Raiders. The halves were decent. Fogarty probably caused a few more problems than Whiten did, even though he managed to crash over for a try. Young and Tarpanay were very good, but Starling and Horsburgh were the two that really opened up the game.
Yeah.
The combination doesn't help when there's nobody standing in front of Horsburgh when he dives over for his second try. But
Horsburgh shaping up to get old mate to punch him and then scoring in the same play. I was like...
Throws him to the ground and then shapes up to him. Then I'll make it set for getting...
Oh, my God. Anyway. Yeah. Ollie, come on. Tell us things.
Well, this was pretty much the game, and Barney and I were talking about this before we were recording, at least for Canberra. It was the game of the cutout pass because not only the Tomoko try, the two Horsburgh tries as well, but Whiten cutting the ball out near the line to Albert Hopewadi to stroll over and score. And Hopewadi, he does need his props. He had a great game, a try, 185 running meters, 6 tackles, 0 missed as well. And then... had the two Horsburgh tries. One, I believe, which was off of Whiten, and then the other one from dummy half from Starling. But it was sort of like, at the very least, why weren't Cronulla there to at least make it a bit difficult for him and at least try and hold him up to get the ball down? It just seemed like he crashed. It seemed like the Cronulla defenders were two gates that just opened up and let him through, to be honest. Like, he was just able to crash over and score. I would have liked a bit more effort there. But when Cronulla scored as well, and Barney and I did speak about this, that there was sort of the tries were a bit more impressive as well. So it was a letdown that Cronulla went on to lose that first try for Kennedy, getting the ball out. You've got that class.
You're right. Like every Cronulla try was a well-structured, classy-looking try. They just didn't
let in 3 crash plays.
Yeah, and it was simple because you had that classy left edge where they just got the ball out. They went 1 for 1 for 1 for 1 out to Ronaldo, who managed to break through the line, and then straight back on the inside. Will Kennedy was there waiting to take the ball, and he ran over and scored. And then later in the game as well, it was a quick play the ball by Origa Kafusi, who you brought up, Barney, and the grubber through. I believe it was Trindle. Was it for Mulatalo to score his try as well? So Cronulla still remained creative in attack. They still remained threatening in attack. But it was just a letdown that they were able to let those crash plays happen on multiple occasions, not just the two Horsburgh tries, but you brought up Tomoko and also the Albert Hopewadi try. But again, with Tomoko as well scoring that try, he also made 22 tackles and missed 0. Now for a centre, that's big praise for him. So I want to give him a little nod for that. But I think we pretty much summed it up in the sense that Cronulla still looked likely. They still looked positive and lethal to an extent in attack, but it was just letting Canberra get away with the boring shit, I guess you could say, which they did.
Well, and that's been the problem with Cronulla. They've got to win these
But
games.
their goal line defence was fantastic last year.
Yeah.
And to let in 3 crash plays like that on your own goal line,
why did Talakai take that goal kick, by the way?
I have fucking no idea. Apparently Trindle had a sore leg, but then he went and kicked the next one. So, I don't know.
Puts you, anyway. It's a momentum stopper.
He fucking missed it by fucking 10 metres as well.
It's like he won the... fucking I'll do it. All right, you do it.
Am I making up a memory here, or can't Ronaldo kick goals?
I'm sure
10 blokes kick goals better than he did.
Moylan used to kick, I think, second kicker for Penrith, wasn't he, back in the day?
It was 20 and 20 wide. He's missed it by 20. So
sorry, obviously Ronaldo can kick goals, but can Ronaldo Mulatalo?
No. Sorry. Yeah, but this is the thing that you've now dropped a couple of games that you've got to win, really.
Yep.
And it's concerning us.
Not a fantastic start to the year. There's still enough points in them to win more games than they lose. And,
This is the most...
It gets them into the 8 at least, but they need to be a lot more settled, especially in their goal line defence. So that was pathetic. And it has been a couple of times this year. There's been quite a few crash plays for Cronulla this year that have just come up short. They target Moylan, they target Brayley. Brayley's a good defender one-on-one and can drag you down, but generally if he can't stop you on the spot.
No.
So he needs that 5 or 10 metres on your own goal line. He needs a bodyguard. Same with Moylan. Same with probably Trindle at times. So when you need 3 blokes with bodyguards, you're taking out. There's a hole somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
They well apparently it's we'll just put a bow on this game first of all. What are you thinking? 3-2-1.
Oh, Horsburgh gets the 3.
Yeah.
I thought he was tremendous. He came on, fired up the pack, took it to a Cronulla pack that were winning the battle at the time, and ended up getting up over the top of them. I had Starling for the 2 points. I thought he was instrumental again with his running game out of dummy half, and set up some nice tries with cutout balls out of dummy half, and then I had 1 point for either Tomoko or Tapane.
I had Tapane or Trindle.
Yeah, I think you got to go Tarpening.
We didn't even talk about Tapane. Just quickly touch on that. He was
Absolutely killed it again. He just does it week after week, and they sort of get lost
story
in
of
that
our
fog.
The story of our points tonight is we're brushing people that we expect, but like Reynolds and Teddy and Tarpane. We're going to be brushing them a little more than I'd probably like, but whatever. Who cares?
I'm surprised Barney's not tried to get us to drop this amazing forward in Tarpany for a centre.
I'm surprised Nico didn't get.
Yeah, let's do it. Tarpane 2. Then you can pick it between Starling or Tomoko for the 1.
Give it Starling. Starling was good.
Starling.
We didn't talk about him, but his creativity was good. I think a couple of tries. He's
always had a very good running game and causes problems in and around.
He's probably in a clear air, and he's probably obliged to get clear air to play more minutes now. Yeah. With Danny Levi, unless they bring Wolf. Sure, they don't. Well, maybe they do bring Wolfwood back just to.
They might.
To keep him on the bench, but yeah, I want to see something from the Sharks soon. A bit like the Cowboys.
At least the Sharks' attack's still firing somewhat.
It looks crisp
whereas
enough. And
the,
they don't have
the Cowboys'
they don't
attack.
Have not many teams could miss the Dally M winner and still do well. So we've got to talk about and apparently what I've heard today was it's the closest after 3 rounds. It's the closest it's been since 1975.
I'm pretty sure we forecast that before the start of the year. To be honest,
so only the Tigers and Para haven't won a game. You can make lots of cases around, and realistically, and Para fans, I did predict they will lynch BA this year, and it's
floating down the river.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
But they could have won all 3 of those games, realistically, Para.
If they kicked all conversions, then they would have at least gone to Golden Point against Cronulla and beaten Manly. If Moses just kicked his goal.
Moses hasn't kicked well at all this year.
Then Cronulla could now be 0 from 3.
Yeah. All right. We got a salute.
No.
I do.
Salute anyone? Okay. Wow.
I do.
Or do you want to slap first to make yourself feel better?
No, let Ollie go. I didn't even think about it, to be honest. I just went through the games and that was it. But
salute, slap, and we got a pot plant. Where do you want to start, David?
I'm lost. I'm gone.
All right. You're going to start positive and negative, Ollie. Let's go salute first.
I'll start positive because salute's the one that I've got. And I want to salute Melbourne. Salute Melbourne for giving away all those penalties to the Titans to make sure that they lost the game. A little call out here to the Cowboys. If you'd also like to give away penalties when you're 4 points behind and don't want to get any of momentum because you don't want the ball back, so you just keep giving away penalties next week, that would be awesome as well.
I'm going to salute Andrew Webster and to lesser extent Serraldo, but the blokes that are coming out of this Penrith system, obviously something's going right there. And what Webster's done at the Warriors, they have been every game. Like, you could have made an argument they nearly should have beaten the Chooks last week. They were very impressive first round, and they were ultra impressive this round. They've realised what they've got, and they're working very hard to keep achieving with what they're doing. And I think they've done a great job. And if they do start getting these big outside backs, your Montoyas of the world firing, you become scary all of a sudden. If he can dig up A-grade Sean Johnson on top of that, hey, why can't they be a very serious force?
I want to salute Sean O'Sullivan. Yeah, I think he's just gone through the motions for 3 games, but I think he's probably been close to the top 5 halfbacks in all 3 games without, bringing massive notable praise upon himself. He's just gone through, done what they needed to do, and he's got them home pretty much week after week for the first 3 weeks and done it without being noticed. So I think it's I think he's been put in a fantastic performance for the first 3 weeks of the year, and hope it continues.
I feel like I'm under-saluting Adam Reynolds when you talk about best halfbacks. I think Adam Reynolds has been the best half in the comp.
Probably has. Yeah, you're probably not wrong there.
You got a slap?
Oh, the Sharks' goal line defence. It was fucking horrendous. Actually, the fucking pot plant. You could have put pot plants on the goal line and stopped those from fucking. He would have probably would have tripped Horsburgh over at least, and he might have dropped the ball instead of fucking just falling over and scoring a try. So
I'm going to slap, and I had him at pot plant initially, but I've upgraded him. I'm going to slap Cody Walker. Like he either needs to get his shit together, or Souths need to get their shit together and fuck him off because he's costing them games of rugby league, and he'll continue to do so because he's a pelican. /peanut/pumpkin, because P is the letter of the afternoon. But he needs to keep his head on if they're going to win games. Like I said, they're now 2 years in without Reynolds, 25 games in without Reynolds, and he's probably won them 2 and lost them 3 times.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
So I'm going to slap him because he deserves it. Ollie?
I'm going to slap the Cowboys because last week on the previous show, obviously, as it's been well documented, I've not been doing well on my tips. And I thought even my preseason predictions, the teams I've tipped them to do well aren't doing so good. The teams I've tipped them to do poorly are doing good. I tipped the Warriors for the spoon. I was like, I'm going terribly. I just want the Cowboys to go out there and smash them. They didn't do that, and they didn't win the game, and they didn't even look like a threat for most of the game. So I'm going to slap them because they're making me look silly.
Hopefully it's not so for that. You got a pot plant for us, Ollie?
I'm going to pot plant myself for said tipping because I reckon if you put a pot plant instead of me doing the tips, I'd be doing better.
I'm going to pot plant David Nofaluma. Like the blokes,
yeah,
right. We got hooked on the weekend.
They did.
Added 0. He dropped 3 balls last week. He's been average at best. He can fuck off to Melbourne as far as concerned. He came out last final series say how great it is to be at Melbourne and this, that, and the other, and now he's rejuvenated. And this, he's one of the highest paid players at the Tigers. He's added 0 for 3 weeks in a row now, and to be honest, you might not see him again in Tigers colours. I wouldn't be surprised if.
In front of Warbrick.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if
maybe that's the swap.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a phone call happening in the next 3 weeks, and off he goes.
Yeah, right. Well, I did me pot plant as Cronulla's on goal defence, so I've got a slap for Dominic Young because he was unbelievably bad on the weekend, and we saw how good he can be the week before. So, yeah, hopefully give him a little tickle up, and he's a little bit better next week and doesn't drop 6 or 7 high balls and miss blokes, like just not even put a hand on them as they run past him.
Yeah, some sluggish stuff.
Here's the thing. I feel kind of bad about that because Dominic Young was so good throughout 2022 and he's not had a game like that since like early 2021. So what kind of slap are you giving him? You give like I feel like he doesn't deserve a slap.
It's a Tommy Raudonikis. Come on, fire up, son.
You're allowed to give friendly slaps.
Yeah, it's a fire up. Yeah. It's fire up slap.
I'm making sure because I wouldn't want to see that beautiful man's dreadlocks. Well, I would kind of see it wave in the wind after he's got slapped in the face. Not for him being slapped in the face, but the beautiful dreadlocks. But I'm just making sure
it's not a gangster backhand. It's a Tommy fucking come on, fire up, motherfucker. Let's go.
What he said. All right, that's it. Everyone, buy some hats. Footy Frothies, rugbyleaguemerch.com, shirts.
Stein glasses.
Stein glasses, reassess your life about dragons sort of shirts, that sort of thing. Go and do that and buy that. We're back tomorrow night to preview next week, which is tremendous. We've got Tigers in Melbourne coming up. We've got the full Queensland Derby set. We've got...
He's got the bye this week.
Chooks.
Okay.
So we've got Dolphins and Brisbane.
Broncos,
and Titans and Cowboys. And Para Penrith. We've got the Western Derby too. That's always a ripper. So we've got to look at that. A very interesting team list Tuesday. We'll talk a little bit of Supercoach. We'll talk a little bit of punting disasters, which somehow Ollie nailed last week.
He did.
So now he's rich as a Lannister.
If only I actually put bets on.
More power to you for not doing that. Anyway, that's it. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back tomorrow night to preview what's coming up. See you guys.
Bedtime.